Shady lawyers, fair judges, and indecisive juries have played a huge role in the way we look at our judicial system, the possibilities and fears within our society, and more importantly, films. Tonight, we find out if we can handle the truth and if we can tell it. Order will be in the court, oaths will be broken, people will be held in contempt. So sit back, relax, and have a decent lawyer as we break down our top five court dramas. Order in the court. It's your judge, Patty B. With me today is my district attorney, my right-hand man, Mr. B-Dog, Mr. Brandon. What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I don't know the definition of direct or district attorney is the right hand man of the judge. I think it's the bailiff at that point. But I'll
I was
take.
gonna, I didn't know if it was. I don't see. I should have. I should have planned that one out in advance, but kind of just went with the flow on that.
But I will take district attorney. I am doing fantastic. I am ready to talk about courtroom dramas or courtroom movies. These are by far some of my favorite movies in the world of crime.
Yeah.
And so having these movies come to fruition here a little bit more, allow us to highlight them is phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to doing this list.
Yeah. No, I'm excited too, man. You don't realize how many good movies there are in this genre, right? Until you start really kind of going down the list. And I think it was kind of easy to make my list. I don't think I ever really made any changes to what I like and what I didn't like, but no, I'm excited, man. I There was one that popped out, and we'll get into it later on, but there's one that popped out to me that I hadn't seen in a long time, and then I rewatched and I was like, yeah, this is a damn good movie right here. So no, this is a fun genre to talk about, and I'm excited to get into it, man. So
So I'll go ahead and get us started off. This is why I say court movies, because this one can be considered a courtroom drama and it may not be considered a courtroom drama. I'm going with My Cousin Vinny. That's my
yeah.
um
Sure.
I this one and another one that's in my honorable mentions kept on going back and forth, which I'll admit to it right now is Philadelphia. This is a movie that I really enjoyed, both of them really well, but when it really came to rewatchability, I can sit there and rewatch My Cousin Vinny 10 times more than I
Yeah.
can Philadelphia. But My Cousin Vinny stars Joe Pesci, Ralph Macchio, Marissa Tomei. It's where she gets her Oscar win, which is well deserved, by the way. It had Ed Munster from the Munsters in it as the judge. I enjoy this movie. It is a fun movie to watch. You see somebody like Ralph Macchio. This is getting older Ralph Macchio. So he's in his late 20s, early 30s
Yeah.
going into this. And
Post Karate Kid.
yeah, post Karate Kid. It is a fun movie to watch. You see how they are accused of murder in the state of Alabama, and
Yep.
so they call Vinny to come in to help support them and help get them out of this. Um, One of my favorite scenes does belong to Marissa Tomei in this movie. Car explaining scene. That is one of my favorite scenes in
Oh yeah,
courtroom
so
drama.
calculated too.
Yeah,
I love
and
her accent in that movie.
she is I think this really put her on the map
Yeah.
more, where she is a very versatile actress. She did win an Oscar for this role. I think it was one of the only Oscars they took away, and
Mhm.
it's well deserved. I think she was the best person for this role. But having that scene where when they call her up as a witness for automobiles and everything like that, when they're questioning her, like, well, why is she up here? And then you just hear Joe Pesci Vinny just go, watch this, and just see her go off
Yeah.
how much she truly knew about automobiles. He even put the judge in dismay and shut up the prosecutor. And it
Yeah,
made
I no, I this I'll be honest, this was my number two, man. So I'm glad it made your list for sure. But yeah, no, I had this really high up on my list because I'm a huge Joe Pesci fan. If you don't love the Home Alone movies, if you don't love Goodfellas, I don't know who you are. I mean, he's iconic, man. Like you said, Ralph Macchio. Another couple people I want to get into, Lane Smith. I love Lane Smith. He's in this movie. He's the public defender trying to put them away. For I love all the back and forth hoopla between Joe Pesci's character and Fred Gwynn's character, who plays the judge. You know
Which is
how,
Bobby Munster. Fred.
yeah, he's just so like smart alecky with them, man. But and he just doesn't take any shit from Joe from Vinny Gambini.
Yeah.
And Bruce McGill is also in this movie. Plays the sheriff.
Or-
Uh, he's in a lot of '90s movies. I don't know if you're too familiar with him, Brandon, but like he's in The Last Boy Scout. He's in all that kind of stuff. But no, this is a great movie. I think Lane Smith is on his A game in this movie. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever seen Son-in-Law?
I have seen some, and I actually do enjoy that movie.
It's a great
It
movie.
is. It's a funny movie to watch. With Pauly Shore in it, I love it. It's one of the only movies I can watch with Pauly Shore in it. I'm not a really big Pauly Shore fan. Never really have been, but it's
Whatever.
okay to watch every so often. I don't mind it. And Son-in-Law is one of those that make you like enjoy it, enjoy him a little bit more. Because doesn't he play the father? He plays the father of the daughter, right? Or,
Yeah, of course. He's Carla Gugino's dad.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, but yeah,
But
no,
he's got a pretty significant role in that movie. I
yeah.
mean, he's got a lot of lines, and he calls him Crotch. It's Crawl. Came here, Crotch. It's such a good movie. I might watch that tonight. Yeah, no, Lane Smith kind of definitely adds a pizzazz to this movie. I mean, such as Marissa Tomei being in it. I think she's perfect. I think both of those characters are perfect for this movie. You know, Joe Pesci as well. I mean, he's the lead role in this.
He
But
was one of the more awkward roles because you really think about, I'm sorry, you don't look at Joe Pesci and go, oh yeah, he's gonna play an attorney. He's
well,
and
this
he
is on the coattails of Goodfellas too. I mean, this came out 2 years after Goodfellas did.
yeah.
So I think from him, especially, I believe he won an Oscar for that for Best Supporting.
So no, I'm glad my cousin Vinny made it onto our list. But Patty B, take it away with your number 5.
So my number five is more of a psychological thriller. It's got two big time actors that I'm a fan of. It's Devil's Advocate. Some people be kind of flirt with that. Is it really a courtroom movie? Technically, it is. I think it kind of shows like not the sins, but like I guess the immoral values that lawyers can have or lawyers can possess, and I think that's kind of important. Um, no, but this movie, it's definitely sinister. I think I'm not a big Charlize Theron fan, but I think this is probably one of her better roles in my opinion, besides Monster. Uh, you know, not Joe, I was about to say Joe Pesci. Al Pacino as the devil in this is great. I love how he's so smooth with Keanu Reeves's character. Keanu Reeves is Keanu Reeves. Um, there's just a slew of people in this movie. I believe Jeffrey Jones is in it. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head, but no, this is it's a great movie. I don't know. Do you remember watching this movie for the first time and remembering like how you felt at the ending of it?
So when it comes to this movie, I have to admit, I have never watched this movie.
Okay,
So I don't really have a say in this movie because I've never have sat there and watched this.
got
So I've always wanted to. I just
it.
have
Yeah,
never. I say I want to, and then I never do it. So it's like it
it's
would.
definitely a commitment for sure. I think once you get into it, you know, it's yeah. I mean, it's a 2.5 hour movie too. That's the only thing. It's definitely one you have to pay attention to. There's a lot of little details here and there that you got to pay attention to. It's so good because you start to see the evolving of Keanu Reeves's character. You know, he starts as this hotshot lawyer coming out of Florida, gets a huge promotion at this firm in New York City, which is where, you know, Al Pacino character John Milton, that's his character, John Milton, who is, you know, the head lawyer guy there, and you really start to see him go down a dark path, and it all circles around Al Pacino's character, and I think it really takes a toll on Charlize Theron's character. but it's a fun little ride, I think. It can definitely it has some really cool illusion shots to it as well. Of where like he's kind of dreaming, he's not dreaming, and then um like there's a part with Jeffrey Jones's character that's really good. Anyway, you guys should definitely check it out. Like I said, I think it kind of flirts with being a courtroom drama just because it kind of does circle around a lawyer.
Mhm.
And there are some courtroom scenes in that movie as well. But yeah, that's my number five, man. So
All right. My number four goes to a movie that was released in 1996. Um, I am going with A Time to Kill. This is released in 1996. Stars Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock, Samuel L. Jackson, Kevin Spacey, Oliver Platt, Charles S. Dutton.
Jimmy King,
Yeah, you have Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland in this film. This
stacked,
is that like this,
stacked.
but there's a lot of things they do target in this film. Like we say, there is a whole. It shows like human compassion and empathy can overcome racial prejudice, but it also can show the views of a justice system in a state like Mississippi. The social justice as well, that everybody deserves a fair trial. Um, the integrity, especially with Matthew McConaughey and how loyal he is to this cause and that he's not going to just back down because of it. Um, this is a really great film. This is by far one of my favorite Matthew McConaughey films.
All right, all right, all right.
It is up there in my top two, top three movies of his. I think this is by far this is young Matthew McConaughey too.
It
This is
is.
like 2 years after Angels in the Outfield, about
Yeah.
3 years after his first big role. I mean, what was it? It's just one of those movies that you go, this is really good. And it's a movie that it's hard to watch. That's why I say it. Some of the scenes, some of the stuff that happens in this film is very hard to watch.
Mhm.
But the whole thing is that it shows you it is still a good movie. I think everybody should watch at least once. This is a movie that makes you start asking questions. It is a movie that's going to make you think about different things. Um, like I said, Sandra Bullock comes in as an advisor and she gets mixed up into this. And you see that the harassment that Matthew McConaughey's and Sandra Bullock's character gets because they took on this case. It is a really well thought out film from beginning to end. Um, the only thing I always hated is that this is one of the only times you see father and son in a movie in real life, Donald and Kiefer,
Yeah.
and they're on opposing sides.
I've never seen this movie. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've seen parts of it. I've probably seen about the first 45 minutes of the movie.
Mhm.
Never got through it all. It is a longer movie if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
it's about a 2.5 hour to 3 hour movie.
Um,
You have to pay attention to.
and it's a young Oliver Platt in this as
Yeah,
well, right?
it is. You also have Ashley Judd in this film, a very
Yeah.
Ashley Judd. Um, this what was it? Even has Brenda Fritter in it, the girl, the mom, or the
Brenda Frecker. Yeah, yeah, yeah. From Angels in the Outfield.
she is the um
Pigeon
she's
Lady.
like the no, yeah, she's the pigeon lady in Home Alone too, but she's the like the secretary to her. It's just a really good film. This is by far too one of my favorite Samuel L. Jackson films. I think this is well thought out for him. Um, it's just a really good film from beginning to end.
Samuel L. Jackson had nothing but bangers in the 90s, I feel like.
Well, yeah, and it all started with Jurassic Park and Goodfellas and the two minor roles.
He's not really in Goodfellas, but sure.
He's
Yeah,
not
I
in
mean,
really Jurassic Park either, but he's in there.
he had Die Hard with a Vengeance in
Yeah.
this in back-to-back years, and I Die Hard with a Vengeance is my favorite, easily my favorite Die Hard movie. But anyway, not to get off the
Pulp
rails.
Fiction too. You know, there's a lot of
What's
good.
that?
Pulp
Yeah,
Fiction is one of his biggest.
Pulp Fiction. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Jackie Brown 90s. You know, there's a lot. But no, A Time to Kill was one I put on here. Again, this is not for the faint of heart. Do not go in watching it with your kids and don't go in thinking it's just another courtroom drama. There is a lot you will learn from this film, and there is a lot that you will start questioning in this film too, I think. All right, Pat, let's go to
All right,
your number four.
my number four. You briefly mentioned the title earlier while you were talking. Um, this is a really good Matthew McConaughey movie. It is Lincoln Lawyer. I got Lincoln Lawyer at my number four. I love the twists of him being this scumbag lawyer who gets hired. He's not scumbag lawyer, but he's definitely doesn't have a lot of morals, I guess you'd say.
He's corruptible, I guess.
He's definitely corrupt for sure. And I like he's unexpectedly hired to represent the character Louis Rollet, who is played by Ryan Phillippe, who's kind of like this Beverly Hills playboy type character, who's also the son of like this real estate mogul named Mary Windsor.
Mhm.
Uh, no, and then you start to realize, he's been accused of brutally beating a prostitute, and he chose Matthew McConaughey's character for this case specifically. And throughout the movie, you really start to see everything is kind of unraveling in a bad way for his client. And it's getting to the point where it's kind of affecting Matthew McConaughey to the point where like his investigator finds out that he actually, did it,
Mhm.
and he ends up having his investigator killed, who is played by John not John C. I was about to say John C. Riley, William H. Macy. I also love at the very end of where he's cross-examining his not attorney, his client, and he's obliged to do so by law. He's representing him, but he kind of sets him up in a weird way where it kind of exposes the truth. And I just love that scene at the end where you can tell Ryan Phillippe's screwed, and he realizes he's screwed, and and then he realizes that, wow, this lawyer really really got over on me. And the fact I was kind of bummed when William H. Macy's character dies.
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden he's there and then he just gets murdered. You're like, damn, I was not expecting that. I believe, I don't have it up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Brian Cranston's in this too. He's one of the like FBI agents or something like that, I believe. Oh, man, I was always a tongue twister for me. Michael Pena, Francis Fisher, but John Leguizamo, who's in a ton of stuff. Like you were saying, Marissa Tomei. I think that's when you brought up the movies when we were talking about My Cousin Vinny. No, but it's just a great movie. I love the ending of it too. Well, I know I already said that, but I love the part at the very end when he's riding away in his in his limo. Kind of like he's like, it's not a victory, but it's still a victory, that it's a definitely a feel good ending for sure. Like it ends the way you want it to end, and I love movies like that. It's all culminated to what's gone on. But doesn't this movie make you hate Ryan Phillippe? Just to
Oh, I've never liked him in any role I've watched him in. So I think that's why it's easy for me to go, yeah, I don't care for him, period.
uh
But it's one of those things it's hard to really say yay or nay to about him because there are good movies, but I think that's why we like him too, is that he can play a role like this and you really hate him.
Yeah.
What was he? Wasn't he in Kate or what was it? What was the one with Reese Witherspoon and stuff with him and her in it? Because he plays a villain there too.
Is it True Confessions?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I feel like I know what it is. Hold on. Well, he married Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, he did. They have kids together. That's why I said it's. That's why I said that's a hard one for me to say. That doesn't make me hate him. Like I
I'm not
say,
saying I hate Ryan Phillippe. I'm just saying like he's a very dislikable person in this movie.
yeah,
You just want to punch him in the face. He's got a real punchable face. Um,
that's how I am with Josh Lucas in certain films, like Ford versus Ferrari.
cruel intentions.
Cruel Intentions. Yes.
I don't know why did I say True Confessions?
Yeah, you said True Confessions.
I
I think that's a Shia LaBeouf movie from Disney Channel, buddy.
You're right. It is. Wow, that was a plot twist.
Um, but I'll go to my number 3. The 1962 film goes down as probably one of the best movies ever made, in the top 100 at least. Going with To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh shoot.
This focuses around, of course, the narrator of the story is Scout Finch. who's played by Mary Baham or Badham. Um, and it kind of allows us to see the story of Atticus, who's her father. This is really a very powerful film, especially the court case scenes. Seeing Gregory Peck in there as Atticus, and really portraying that with him. And then on top of it, Tom Robinson, who is the black man that he's defending, played by Brock Peters, plays such a really great role in this film. Both these guys really do well in the courtroom. This movie also has a young Robert Duvall. This is another movie of his that people forget he's in. But what's so good about this film is I love the back and forth. I love the questioning. I love everything in this film. You get a private life into Atticus' life a little bit, but you also, it's like we said, it's not from the view of him. It's from the view of her daughter, of his daughter, Scout. One of my scenes that I love, because we do find out at the end of the movie, he is still guilty. So he loses that. But the whole black community in there, because they were all upstairs, stands up for him after nobody else would. And when Scout questions why they're doing that, they go, because he's a hero to us. We stand for that. And it's one of the most powerful scenes I still think in movie history is when he's walking out of that door, walking down the aisle to go down to the door, and everybody upstairs is literally standing up for him. Everybody on downstairs floor, all the white people, everything is gone. And it's one of the most powerful scenes, one of the well shot scenes in that film.
Yeah.
And seeing that.
That film's been all in black and white too, right?
It's black and white.
It adds a lot to it for sure. Would you say it's one of the better films that was adapted from a book?
I'd put it up there in the top 5. I do feel like it was really well done that way. Of course, not every movie is going to be perfect from being adapted to movie or from book to movie.
Yeah.
It's not with comics, that was everything. But this is one of them that was pretty close knit to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really well done. And I recommend this movie to anybody. But yeah, Pat, let's go to your number 3.
So my number 3 is also a classic, also all in black and white. I think a few years before that film. It's one that you got me onto. You already kind of know what I'm going to talk about. It is 12 Angry Men.
So I'll chime in with you after you go over yours, because that's my number 2.
Number 2. No, man, I just love one thing I really love about the movie, and it's kind of simple for me, or it's kind of a simple thing in general, is I really love movies that take place in one day. I really do, especially when they take place in one setting. Like they don't go anywhere. There's no back and forth or flashbacks or anything like that. It's all dialogue driven, and it's an hour and a half, and you're kind of along for the ride with it. You start at one point of how you feel, and you end at a completely different point. I love that. I love movies like that. Really shows the meaning of what dialogue can be in a movie.
Yeah.
Henry Fonda is fantastic, of course. He as juror number 8, right?
Yep, he is juror number 8.
Juror number 8, and that's the thing I like about the movie too. It adds more mystique where you don't really find out any of the people's names except for Henry Fonda and the other guy at the
John
end, right?
Fiedler. Also, let's see if you know that one. John Fiedler is the other one that it's either John Fiedler or the old guy. I can't remember. But John Fiedler.
It's the much older guy, I believe.
Yes, it was. Never mind. I'll take that back. Yes, it was the older guy, but I can't remember his name either in the movie, what he states. But John Fiedler's in this film too. You know who John Fiedler's known for?
John Fiedler.
It's a Disney character.
I'm looking up right now.
Don't go look it up, you cheater.
Oh, I already was looking it up.
He's Piglet.
Oh dear. Oh dear, he is.
When you hear his voice, you know automatically that's Piglet. Like in the movie 12 Angry Men, I knew right away that's stinking Piglet. Or those little scenes where Ewan McGregor's like, that's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's literally was my impression. Like, it's fucking piglet. Like, but you said it perfectly. I think this movie's really great. And the fact that, one, we don't know the juror's name. And over time, we get their backgrounds a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that's what separates them is their backgrounds, their ethnicities. There's a lot of things in this film, a lot of themes in this film. And what I love too is that you really only have that opening scene where you see the kid that's on trial because he's on trial for killing his father. And but they're trying to say is that he killed his father. In reality, though, he isn't the one that killed his father. And I think
Yeah.
that's why Henry Fonda does such a great job as juror number 8, because he is that hero that you see step up. You see, I love him and I love Lee J. Cobb in this film. That's juror number. Lee J. Cobb in this film is so fantastic. He is really great. You get that breakdown from him at the end of the movie, and you feel him. You understand him. It's one of those roles like you go, oh wow. And I love the fact too that, just because, and it's a whole nother, it's another, you see that everybody views this in a totally different way. You have Henry Fonda who's like, I'm not just going to put him guilty because I'm not going to sentence this kid to death without
Mhm.
knowing this is what is right. Juror number 9 is the first one to vote, but he also feels like he has a right to be heard. He has a right to be hearing this. And you have a lot of the people finally start turning his way because of the evidence. Like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense now. We can't just go off of what they say. Like one of my favorite scenes when he walks and times himself like the guy would have walked to the door,
Yeah.
or how he pulls out a switchblade like
Well,
he.
that's I was gonna get to. I love the whole knife scenario, right? It
Oh, I
kind
just
of
love how he pulls and takes it into court, and I'm like, how the heck were you able to take that in the courtroom? They check
they
you.
didn't have metal detectors back then.
Yeah, but they still check you. It wasn't like they didn't check you.
Yeah.
But it's one of those movies that it really is well done. The whole premise of it all is really well done too. Having the fact that it's like I said, it's not only the jurors' names you don't know, everybody looks at the case in a different view. If it's off race, if it's off of he's like Lee J. Cobb, it's like that whole he's blinded by his own relationship with his
Yeah.
son. Um, E.G. Marshall, who plays juror number 4, is he's the only one that's really like coming from a sense of let's look at the facts. Before Henry Fonda kind of goes, okay, well, let's dissect that fact. You know, and EJ Marshall does a really good job too. I really love this whole cast, and I think it's great. They did a remake in 1997, I believe, and it's okay. It's not prefer. I prefer watching the old black white 1957 version of 12 Angry Men. I think it's well done still to this very day, and I just think it's a good movie. I remember watching this in high school too, and I really enjoyed this film. A lot of the students in my class hated this film. I enjoyed it. I thought it's really well done, and it's what made me actually love Henry Fonda more as an actor. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, 12 Angry Men. I'm glad it made your list. I'm glad I can get you into a movie like you've gotten me into certain movies like Fargo, Bottle Cap, or Bottle Rocket, things like that. I've gotten you into a movie like 12 Angry Men. But no,
I was gonna ask with that newer the newer rendition that you were talking about,
mhm.
is it set up just like the old one?
It is. It's still the same setting. It's still everything. I have not seen that movie in a very long time, just because I think that's why. But here's the actors in that if you were curious. Okay. Jack Lemmon, George C. Scott, James Gandolfini, Sam Pranos himself, Tony Danza, William Peterson, Courtney B. Vance, Hume Crone, Ossie Davis, Edward James Olmos, Malike Williamson, Armin Mueller Stahl, and Dorian Harewood. The main ones I look out is George C. Scott, and he is juror number 3. So Lee J. Cobb's role. Jack Lemmon is juror number 8, Henry Fonda's role. James Gandolfini plays juror number 6. So that was like one of the guys who did construction that kind of started siding with them more and more. And Tony Danza is the guy who wants to get to a ball game. So it's really good. I think the casting was good. I just feel like the presentation of it is not all that great.
Yeah, I feel like also there's so many simplicities of that old rendition, right? Of where it just makes the movie even better. And I think it's not this the new one in black and white. Probably not.
It's color.
I think the black and white really adds to the movie, man.
It does. It puts that whole transcription more down of what the director wanted you to see. And I'm glad they never remade that particular one in color. I'm glad it stayed black and white.
Well, my thing too with black and white movies is it's so unknown. Like there's so many things that are unknown within the movie.
Well, like we say, that one of the things they talk about is race and in the movie. And so seeing that in a black and white situation, it's different. You don't see that as much as you would see because it was like a Hispanic guy. And I can understand that because I'm, being that type of, I'm half Hispanic myself. But it's one of those things that's really good how they do it. And I'm glad that this movie was made. This was a play, for crying out loud. And it was made into a movie. And a really well done movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've already went over our number 2s because you went over 12 Angry Men and I joined in, and you had My Cousin Vinny as your number 2.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our honorable mentions for where we go to our number 1 movie.
All right. I had just 2. I believe one of them, man, I just lost it too. One of them, real quick, is The Verdict from Paul Newman. I like Paul Newman.
Yeah.
He's really good in this movie. I also enjoyed The Judge with Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr.
I think so. That movie, I like the movie. I think it's sometimes hard because this is during the time frame Robert Downey Jr. was known for one role and one role only. And that
Yeah. Tony Stark.
Yeah. Nobody thought of him in this role. And I think that's why that movie flopped a little bit in the box office. It was not a success. Or if it was a success, it wasn't really that big.
I think it became a cult classic after.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoy that a little bit more because Robert Duvall is the judge. It's been a while since I've watched it, but he's accused of a murder. And it's Robert Duvall or Robert Downey Jr. that has to defend him, his own son, has to defend him in court. But no, I'm glad those made your list. I have 3 on my list. I've already talked about one of them, which was Philadelphia. Great Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington.
That's the other one too. I think that's the one I was losing.
Yeah, that is
fantastic movie.
Yeah, that's a great film with Tom Hanks. He was well deserved that he won an Oscar for that movie. I wish Denzel would have won his Oscar. I have Kramer versus Kramer. A great film. And the last one I want to talk about is one I thought I'd never put on my list, but I do enjoy it. It's Erin Brockovich. I love Julia Roberts in this film. I am not a big Julia. It's not that I don't like her, like I don't like Nicole Kidman, but a lot of her movies can either hit or miss with me. Of course, you have Pretty Woman, you have Erin Brockovich. You have a lot of good roles with her, but there are that many other roles of hers I just don't care for. She well deserved her Oscar win for this movie. I think it's still by one of my favorite movies with her in it. And yeah, so Pat, what's your number 1?
My number 1's kind of a random movie. Well, not random. It's not a random movie. I think it's a hidden gem for the time it came out. I think the time it came out, it probably was a bit bigger, but I think over time it's got lost in the shuffle. I'm going with Sleepers.
Yeah, there you go.
From 1996. I saw this movie not too long ago for the first time, and I was just kind of the way it develops throughout the movie. It's about four boys that grew up in Hell's Kitchen, New York. And they kind of commit this terrible act where they try to basically steal a hot dog vendor cart, and they push it down a flight of stairs and almost kill the guy that owns the cart itself. Anyway, they end up going to a correctional facility for boys, or for younger boys at the time. And then this is where it gets kind of dark, where the kids go through a lot of physical and sexual abuse from the guards themselves. And I think this movie has got one of the best casts of any courtroom movie. You got sorry, you got Robert De Niro, you
Mhm.
got Dustin Hoffman, you got Kevin Bacon, Brad Pitt, Jason Patrick, a young Jonathan Tucker, where if you don't know who Jonathan Tucker is, if you looked him up, you'd be like, oh, I know who that guy is.
Mhm.
Um, I already said Dustin Hoffman. Minnie Driver is in it, and this is right before Good Will Hunting, Minnie Driver. Uh, this movie is so good because of the development of the boys, right? So let me get back to where I was talking about the plot in a condensed form, where two of the kids that were in the correctional facility end up going into a life of crime. And then one of the other boys is kind of just, living life, doing good for himself. And one of the other boy is a public defender, which who's played by Brad Pitt. Jason Patrick from The Lost Boys is the one that's kind of, doing his own thing, in a good place in life and whatnot. But the two boys that are up to no good end up running in to Kevin Bacon's character at a bar. And I love that scene because they know who it is, but he doesn't know who they are because it's been a long time since they've seen each other. And the way they confront him at the bar, and they just it's terrible, but they just, they just kill him right then and there in the bar. And then so they get arrested for murder. And then, long story short, there is a character that's kind of helped them out while they were kids. King, fuck, I forgot the name of it. We can edit that out. Anyway, the the character that has kind of groomed them, or not groomed them, but helped them out since they were kids, ends up hiring a an attorney that is Dustin Hoffman's character, is kind of not a big lawyer. Is kind of an alcoholic. He's like, I can't do this. He's like, why are you making me do this?
That's kind of
Uh,
like the dude from what was it? Isn't that what was it? Isn't that kind of like the dude from Hoosiers when he's
yeah,
put as the coach? Wasn't
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's like it's like a Dennis Hopper situation for sure.
wasn't
Um,
it Dennis? I always get the two meshed up. It's Dennis Hopper and Hoosiers. Dennis Hoffman is in Sleeper.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman. I
That
don't know why I always get their names
Dennis
mixed.
Hopper, Dustin Hoffman. That's close. It's close enough.
Yeah, I
Um,
get them always mixed up for some reason. But no, I have to admit too, that is not a movie I have ever watched either.
yeah.
So
And the way, like, just like, long story short, into the ending, it comes to the point where Brad Pitt's character, who's the public defender, going against his best friends, but it's all planned out. Like, it's all this big skew of like, oh, he's basically gonna throw it,
mhm.
and he does, and they end up getting off on killing on killing the perpetrator who abused them their whole lives. And it's such a good, like, feel good movie. There's a lot of twists and turns to it, but the cast is amazing. I really like Jason Patrick in this. He's not big nowadays, but I think in the late 80s and 90s, he really made a name for himself. I know he did the second rendition of Speed, which
Sure.
it's what it is. I think he's more known for The Lost Boys in this film. Um, but yeah, and then one thing I forgot to mention is Robert De Niro's character in this. I really enjoy because he's kind of the priest who looks out for these boys the whole time, makes sure they're good, and from a very young age. And I know that he was kind of heartbroken when those kids got in trouble because he knew that some of them were up to no good and others, would follow in the path, and then it would come of it. But no, it's a really good movie. You need to check that out, Brandon. You really do need to check it out. It's a longer movie, but it's definitely worth a watch for sure. I think you would enjoy it. I know you're not a big Brad Pitt character or Brad Pitt fan. Easy for me to say.
But I can sit there and watch him more than I can watch most others, so I can deal with it. I'll watch that though.
Yeah, it's not like George Clooney's in
Yeah, God. If he was, I've been like, no. Um, anyway,
it.
one of my number one because it does involve an actor that I do not care for. But I do like this role with him. All I have to state is you can't handle the truth. And sitting right there behind Pat, I'm going with A Few Good Men. I think this is by far one of my favorite courtroom dramas. I love that it's also the JAG attorneys and not so
Yeah.
much a normal courtroom drama. This follows the story of two Marines killing a fellow Marine, and what they call as they were issued a code red. Um, the higher ups, played by Jack Nicholson, JT Walsh, and Kiefer Sutherland, are trying to say no, that is not what we ordered, and trying to like justify everything that they did. It is a really great film. It's one of the only movies I can sit there and watch a Tom Cruise because I actually like that little cockiness in him there
Yeah.
a little bit. I like that whole how his character changes over time because when you see him when he first takes this case, he just wants to end it quick. He's done. He just 6 months. I'll have him home in 6 months. Let's get him done. And they actually have an agreement with the prosecution. And you have Demi Moore's character come in and say, no, that isn't going to happen. We are going to fight for these boys because that's what is deserved. I love Lieutenant Daniel Kaffee, who's played by Tom Cruise, and I also love Colonel Nathan R. Jessup, played by Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson's role in this is so well done, and Demi Moore in this plays Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway. Kevin Bacon is in this film as the prosecutor, which I think is great for him. It's one of my favorite roles with him in it. Even Kevin Pollak is in this film as kind of like
Love Kevin Pollak.
It's like he's like Kaffee's like right hand person in this case. It's a really well done film. JT Walsh, you guys will hear when we go into War Month how much I love him, especially in another war movie called Good Morning Vietnam. He kind of plays a mysterious role in this because he is the one that kind of puts Kaffee, kind of like points him in the right direction. But it's such a well thought out film. I love the whole thing. You even get a young Cuba Gooding Jr. in this film.
Yeah.
It's a very small role, but it works. I like the whole aspect of everything that happens in this film. The respect between the two Marines that are on trial, and that I like their relationship with the two Marines that are on trial and Kaffee, and how much they actually did not like each other. But at the end of the movie, they more respect each other. And Jessup is just one of those famous characters. This is iconic for a reason, is because of Jessup, played by Nicholson. Nicholson is great in this film. And I've said that already, but Nicholson, you have some of the best lines from him. You need me on that line and you order the code red. That's where you get the whole, you can't handle the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, you're dead right, I go to the code. It's so iconic to really see him in a role like this because we know Jack Nicholson can play roles like this where he's mysterious. You don't know what's going on. And it's a movie I watch anytime it's on. I put it on because it's a movie that I could just sit there. I don't even have to watch the movie. I could sit there and know word by word what's really going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just I love the side note. I love the whole spinning routine at the beginning of the film too. I don't know why. I got into that in high school where I used to spin the rifles too a little bit. But that's not why I like the movie. But there's just so many good one shot lines too in this film.
A lot of memorable lines too. I mean, I think Jack Nicholson is kind of in full form in this movie, right? Uh, in the
so is
90s,
Tom
man.
Cruise in this. Both
Yeah.
as well.
Well, every decade, the 70s, he was great. The 80s, he was great. The 90s, I feel like he really he was already well established, but I do feel like he just had some really good roles.
Mhm.
Like this movie, As Good as It Gets, is another great movie. Um, where it's just a lot of character development and whatnot. But no, that's a great pick for a number one for sure.
But yeah, Fugelman made my top number one. So fans, let us know in the comments what your top 5 courtroom dramas are. Are there movies that you feel we missed? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your opinions on this. Check us out at J4F Podcast on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, check us out on Spotify and YouTube. Without further ado, I'm going to turn this over back to Pat to finish this out.
Yeah, thank you to all our viewers out there for giving us a listen. No, this was a fun little episode. I'm glad that we were able to kind of put this into our crime month genre. But no, thank you, B Dog, as always. Thank you for being my plaintiff, right? Is that what it is? Is it plaintiff?
You mean your?
Bailiff. I don't know why I said
I
plaintiff.
was your district attorney, and now you're calling me a bailiff.
Well, you wanted to be my bailiff, so what the fuck?
Yeah, man, I at least had a title with district attorney. Now I'm like,
All right, guys. And remember, we do it just for flicks. Court is out of session.
you're out of order.